What's up, IBT family, and happy Friday. It's do or die time in our fantasy football leagues. We get you set for week 14 with our starts, sits, and sleepers on today's program.
Cause I've been in tune, out of touch, coming off the bench, trying to shake the fun, check your stat line, see who's up, that over, under, hit too clutch.
And I'm trying to avoid getting carried away with the jet sweep, sleeping on a trick play, predicting all of my moves like they seen every play. And so I'm running it back, head down, get out of my way. And it's for the law with only one thing to do. I guess I'll say a prayer and put it all on the line for you. What they don't know, something they haven't seen. I find a gap on the screen and hit them right in between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. Just one thing to say, yeah, what they don't know, something they haven't seen. I'm off that mean Joe Green, it got me fading between. Yeah, I got it, and I got it. The In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right. It is Feel Good Friday, December 8th. But honestly, I'm like the most of the great state of Pennsylvania today. I ain't feeling so great. We'll certainly chat all about that. Meanwhile, it is week 14 of the fantasy football season, and we got a hell of a lot on the line. We're going to help you take the next step, punch that ticket for the fantasy football playoffs. On today's program, my name is Seth Woolcock, and I'm joined by a man who's been playing Mr. Mom for the last week, raising 13 kids down in the great state of Texas. He's Eric Romoff. What's up, Eric? Thanks for giving the kids to the nanny for the afternoon.
Yeah, the nanny that I gave the kids to is the old public school system, little state subsidized childcare. It's been a heck of a week. I've been playing Mr. Mom, and also we're heading into, for my money, probably the most exciting week in all of fantasy football. The week before playoff starts,
yes,
every single decision, every single point, every single thing that you do is just amplified, right? So like this week in particular, like it's hard not to get up for.
I have so many leagues like right on the cusp. Can I get that first round bye? Can I even get into the playoffs? We're going to find that out all here in the next 72 hours or so with a lot of great football matchups coming up on Sunday and Monday. And we have our usual program today, Eric. Thursday Night Football recap, then start sits with Troy King. We're going to be taking your questions live. So if there's anything we can help you with, fantasy football or life related, let us know in the chat. And then sure thing sleepers of the week with our guy Dustin Ludke to end out the show tonight. So it's gonna be a fun one here, Eric. Got to shout out the IBT family for all the support. The site kind of blew up this week. We had a lot of good clicks over there. So thank you guys so much. It's everyone who checks out our content here on YouTube and the audio version of this podcast as well. And of course, over at the website. Easiest way to support us. If you aren't already, subscribe, come back, hang out with us again. And if you are, just give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this type of content and let us know how we can keep improving for you guys. And Eric, let's go to the great city of Pittsburgh and, home of Mac Miller, home of Mr. Rogers, home of so many GOATs. But none of them were in attendance yesterday.
Sometimes taking that first step out the door is the hardest thing to do. Give it a chance, you'll be begging for more. Save the spot just for you. We're all somewhere in between.
I've got you come to the place we can have some fun. Ain't gotta worry about knowing not what it means. Come and give me another, cause the night is young. At least I so thought.
This just in. Breaking news. Front and center.
Front and center. Patriots 21, Steelers 18. Lurs get lit up by Zip on the ball, Zappy. And they could have come back from this one if it wasn't for coaching issues and more issues with this team than I have seen in a long, long time. I am very frustrated. I've grown accustomed to honestly losing and not getting upset when the Steelers lose. Like I haven't got upset in a long time, maybe since Ben's last game, or potentially even when they faced the Browns in the playoffs in 2020 and lost. Like I am just so beyond myself right now here, Eric. We have grown accustomed to mediocrity, and I was wrong about this team coming in the season. I love Pat Freiermuth. Bad on me. I love Jalen Warren this week. Bad on me. I just keep getting burned by these guys, and I don't know where else to go.
I mean, look, a wise man once told me that happiness is a function of expectation, right? So, like, for me, I expected the Steelers to be absolute dog water. So the fact that, like, you guys are still not only on the graphic, but, like, legitimately in the playoff hunt, like, I think the Steelers are way outperforming expectations. And obviously I don't have, the pulse of the fan running through me. But, I mean, like, I think the Steelers are doing phenomenal considering – all of the things that were working against them. You and I feel a little bit differently about old baby hands Ken Pickett. Obviously, you and I and the whole world agreed that Matt Canada had to get out of there. It probably happened a little later than it should have. Certainly. But I mean, like, if you really zoom out, your Steelers are having a much better season than I think most people outside of the greater Pittsburgh area would have expected.
Yeah, for sure. It's frustrating when we see 2-7 teams coming to our home Akershire Stadium.
We're
getting lit up, and man, there's a lot of questions. Like honestly, my faith in Kenny Pickett is wavering. He's not playing right now, but it's still wavered. I just think the wheels have fallen off Najee Harris, dude. I think every touch that goes to that guy is a waste of fucking energy and time and possession of the ball. So a lot to talk about. I want to start with our weekend starters. We usually call them shower beers, but no one was a shower beer in this game because it was just so atrocious. But shout out Zeke Elliott, 27 points for him. I was all about him on the Tuesday show. Our guy Hoove was fighting me a little bit on him, but this is kind of what we wanted from Ezekiel Elliott. And then on the Patriots side, Hunter Henry, 19 points for him, and Bailey Zappi gets over 20. Any big takeaways for the Patriots side of things for you?
Ezekiel Elliott looked far more serviceable than I think most people expected, right? Like there was this expectation that he'd just kind of become this, ham and egger who's good for a couple of touches. And clearly, I mean, he got the workload and he did a ton with it, right? Like he almost had 30 touches in this game, which is insane to think about, both in the context of how many years in the league that Ezekiel Elliott's been around, but also how heavily used he was during a lot of those years, right? Like, still had some gas left in the tank, and it was cool to see. Bailey Zappi kind of looks like Mac Jones, but he's a little bit more willing to uncork it, right? So, like, not a material difference in terms of like a skill gap or anything, but like part of it is just being willing to make that pass, and he showed throwing into a couple of tight windows. Making some reads that we haven't seen Mac Jones make. So, all told, like, I don't think there are, sweeping takeaways from this game in particular. Deontay Johnson did what you wanted him to. The Steelers running back situation was a bit of a mess, which isn't all that uncommon either, right? So nobody really moved the needle beyond Ezekiel Elliott in terms of like their rest of season outlook. But I mean, it was a better game than what we expected, right? Back-to-back island games here, going back to last Monday that we thought were going to be kind of stinkers and actually were super entertaining.
This was one too. Like if you bet the under, I don't know what to tell you. I think you were a sappy motherfucker to get caught into that. Like I know it was the lowest under we've seen in what 20 plus years here in the NFL, but I just think it was such an easy spot to not put a ton on the over, but put a little bit on the over, walk out of there clean. So hopefully some people were able to take advantage of that. Last thing on this game for me, before we talk about just the city of Pittsburgh and how we should burn it down and move forward and call Erie our home. What about these Steelers? Like, can you start any of them rest of season with any confidence? Mitch Trubisky maybe in a super flex, he got 20 points. Deontay got 14.7, but the rest of it's just shit, and I have no confidence in the fantasy football playoffs firing any of them up, but I feel like I have to.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I said that nobody really changed their outlook, right? Like Mitch Trubisky is still like a desperation super flex option. Deontay Johnson is like a nice like floor play kind of fringe wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 type, right? Pat Freiermuth is going to be a boomer bust tight end as of that middle class are, right? Like, he'll catch about 3 balls. If one of them happens to be an end zone, you're very happy. If not, then you're upset. That's basically like tight end 7 through 28 every single week, right? So like nothing really changed in terms of their outlook. Pickens is a name we haven't mentioned here. Like, still a very boom or bust option on a week in and week out basis. Beautiful in best ball, but in managed leagues, it's going to be a little tricky down the stretch run.
Yeah, Steelers just have a way of finding these superstar diva wide receivers, except at least AB could get the first down when it mattered, get the touchdown when it mattered. So I miss AB. I miss Lev Bell. I miss the good old days, which those weren't even good old days. But overall, man, I am going to say like the loser is just the state of Pennsylvania. We are now taking applications for a new best city. Erie, Altoona. What do you? Not Philadelphia. We won't go that far. Lancaster City, like there's a lot of promise out there here, Eric. Any leading candidate for you in best city in Pennsylvania since it is no longer Pittsburgh?
I will give my vote to the city that was already the best city in Pennsylvania. That's Philadelphia specifically.
No, get out of here.
If we're gonna
Get
start
out of
singing.
here. We got Toronto Dave in the chat saying feel good Friday, and IBT actually stands for I feel good. He's shouting out the Lehigh Valley. I know Katie will appreciate that. She's a native of up there. So Eric, enough of this Thursday night football game. Let's go ahead. Let's look forward to the rest of this week 14 slate with a little bit of matchup management.
Who you got?
Matchup management.
Who's it gonna be?
Who's it gonna be? We tell you that in matchup management, and we are joined by a very special guest. He's an NFL and fantasy football content creator for Rotoballer, High Point Sports, and a fan and the ambassador of Thirsty Thursday. Troy, I know it's not Thursday, it's Friday, but how are we feeling after it?
Man, I always feel good after, Thirsty Thursday, gentlemen. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to talk about a little bit of football, but yeah, I feel good, man. Let's rock.
I'm glad to hear it, man, because I haven't done a Thirsty Thursday in a while. In college, Thirsty Thursdays were obviously the move. Are you still getting down? Are you still slinging them back, or is this more just a catchphrase?
No, I'm a family man. I can't be doing all that craziness on Thirsty Thursdays anymore. But now, like if I like to do my thing, I'd like to do like a happy hour on a Friday or something for a few hours. But that's usually my move. But I can't do it like I used to back in the day.
Okay, and you're in the great state of Florida, is that correct?
I am. So I'm currently in Orlando, Florida. So I was born and raised in like Fort Lauderdale, but I've been in Orlando since like 2008. So yeah.
Getting cold down there yet?
It is. Well, for me, it's cold. It's like 49, 50 degrees like in the morning. So I know a lot of other places that's, warm, I guess. Yeah. But for us, it's like the tundra. So, and again, I shouldn't be complaining, but I'm a Floridian, born and raised. So to me, it's cold.
Nice. How's the season been for you so far? I know you're busy over at Rotoballer, High Point Sports with Des and the boys. Aside from the content, how's the leagues going?
Oh, things are going great. Honestly, like I would say that it keeps me busy. Just weekly content. My Dolphins are doing well, but the consistency there. Look, I'm happy. I like to stay busy, and it's crazy how the season's almost over, though.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And you and I are both in the semifinals of the Lateral Dynasty League, so excited to see maybe we can have a nice little upset matchup in the championship there. But either way,
no, I'm going for the crown, man. I'm going.
Okay, all right.
Going down.
All right, I like it. Guys, if we can help you at all, put your questions in the chat, whether they're week 14, rest of season, dynasty related, whatever that is, let us know, and we will get to those. Troy, I do want to ask you before we jump into a couple questions, though, do you have any starts of the week? Anyone who maybe not everyone is all about that we maybe should be and could be a week winner?
I would say that I'm going to ride the Elijah Moore Express again. So I know people were... So, last week he got 12 targets and he had 83 yards. Obviously, it was with Joe Flacco. This week, they haven't made a decision yet if Joe Flacco is going to be the starter or DTR. I think regardless, Elijah Moore just looked good. It was nice just to see him get the ball and get targets. Yes. And he was able to produce. And he's going against, this week, I know that I got to look I got to look at the matchup again, but I know that they give up the 7th most fantasy points to wide receivers this week.
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville. Almost forgot. Yeah. So Jacksonville, they give up a lot of points, fantasy points to the wide receiver, Elijah Moore. To me, again, especially with Joe Flacco, I'm going to ride that express again. I really like him this week.
Credit for you having the balls to ride it in the first place last week, because I did not see that blow up performance coming, but it was good to see him get targeted. We don't know the status of Amari Cooper here, and it seems like Footsteps has a little bit of a connection there with Elijah Moore from their New York Jets days. Eric, your thoughts on Elijah Moore and who you're going to for your start of the week?
Yeah, definitely like the Elijah Moore call, right? There's the old narrative street about their time together as New York Jets, but also in general, like we're seeing like competent NFL quarterback play out of Joe Flacco,
Yeah.
fresh off the couch, right? Like wasn't afraid to
crazy.
uncork it, just completely stepped in. Seemed like he had a pretty good handle on the offense, and just peppering Moore with targets in this very like pass funnel kind of setup against Jacksonville this week. So like the call on Elijah Moore. I mean, for me, I think this is more of a PSA than a start of the week.
Okay.
I've gotten more should I start Justin Jefferson questions than I ever thought I would in my life. If he's out there and he's playing, you should absolutely fire up Justin Jefferson. If you're in a betting legalized state, most of the sports books are hedging against this too. They've got his over-under receiving yards line at like 65 or 66 and a half. That's like the lowest it's been in recent memory for Jefferson. He's averaging like almost or over 90 yards per game. So more of a PSA than anything else. I know people get a little gun shy when people first come back from IR, but unless there's like a clear report that he's going to be on a snap count, like you got to fire him right back up.
I got no choice. I have him in a couple of leagues, and I'm picking between him and just the shitters of the world. So glad to hear that. There, we got Dave in the chat saying, "Troy, you are facing him in our lateral league." So
I got to get it. Look, I lost to him the last time we matched up, so I need my revenge on Dave. So you gonna take this out, Dave.
There we go. We're going to get you guys questions in 1 minute. I just want to shout out DeAndre Hopkins, my start of the week. And listen, it's been tough. Like if you've been a Hopkins manager, you don't know when to start him. I've missed like the 30-point blow up. I missed the solid 19 points last week, but against this Miami defense, I know they've been better. Your Miami defense, Troy. But I just think they're going to be down so much. Will Levis is probably going to chuck this 35 times, and every wide receiver who has had double-digit targets against this Miami defense has had over double-digit points in PPR leagues, averaging 24.6 per game. So I think if Nuke gets him, he's going to have maybe a vintage game. And I think there's a little competitiveness between him and your guy Jalen Ramsey there, Troy.
It's funny you say that because this might be awkward. I might be foreshadowing, but DeAndre Hopkins actually my sit of the week because of all the things that you said, right? And I think that, and it goes for a couple of reasons. Last week, like you said, double digit. When a wide receiver gets double digits, they perform well. But last week, Terry McLaurin, he didn't get there, but he got donut, 0, got clamped. And I think that with the Titans offense, you really only have 2 players. You have Derrick Henry or DeAndre Hopkins.
Yep.
Derrick Henry, I don't, the whole in concussion protocol, not in concussion protocol thing. I don't know what's going on there, but we know that they should be behind. Most likely they're going to be behind. And everybody knows Will Levis is going to try to guard, target DeAndre Hopkins. So to me, I just think the Miami Dolphins are going to be prepared for him. And they're just really, really good at home this year. So I think it's going to be a letdown spot. I think you make a good argument, but I'm going to go the opposite side of the coin for DeAndre.
Okay. Eric, how do you feel about him? Split the difference if you would.
Oh, I will absolutely split the difference. I think the analysis on both sides is cogent. For me, I would look more at like a target line or even a reception line from a betting prop standpoint for DeAndre Hopkins. I think Will Levis is going to be going to him a ton, but this matchup against Jalen Ramsey is insane. Like Ramsey came back in week 9, and like he's already got a ton of PBUs. He's only allowing like 10.8 yards per reception, which is incredible for an outside cover corner. His catch rate is among the lowest in the league, right? Like, everything that you're looking for, and more specifically to the issue with DeAndre Hopkins in particular, Ramsey came out and immediately started shadowing. He's got one of the highest shadow rates in the entire league. So every single route that Hopkins is going to be out there running, or I guess statistically speaking, 83% of them, he's going to be in the coverage of Ramsey, and it's going to be real hard for him to haul those in, and if he does, to do much after the catch. So he'll see a pile of targets. I think that part's true, but doing anything with them is going to be a tough ask.
I'll say I do like him in apologize. I like him in PPR more than I like him in half PPR. I'll give him that. Yeah.
Okay. And I will say the last 3 times these guys have matched up, double-digit PPR points for Nuke. So I think the floor is safe, but I'm glad to be knocked down to reality a little bit, because it doesn't feel good to recommend him as the start of the week, but that's how the chips fell. Let's get some questions here in the chat. First from Dave, start 1, hot dogs or sausages, half point per glizzy. Where you going, Troy?
It's a whole inside joke thing for those who don't know the question. Somehow I'm affiliated with Glizzy's. It's a long story, but
Twitter's official Glizzy expert. Don't be
apparently
modest.
So I'll say, I guess I'll go hot dogs.
Dude, hot dogs with sauerkraut on it. Do you like the sauerkraut on the Glizzies?
I say like I've gotten used to the sauerkraut.
Okay.
Originally I'd hated it, but now as I become more of an adult, I can tolerate sauerkraut.
Ooh.
Okay, I like it. Eric, how do you feel about the sausage versus hot dog debate? Because I think I'm in hot dogs, man. I just think they got a little more snap. You know, I'm a big meat guy, big meat man in general. So I'll take the hot dogs here.
Yeah, I'll sweep it. I'll go with the hot dogs too, right? Like more of the OG play for sure.
Awesome. Here's Andrea. Hi, everyone. Need 2 Mostert, Javonte Williams, and Bijan Robinson PPR leagues. How are we feeling about it, Troy? Because last time Mostert was ranked outside the top 24 was Black Friday. In most consensus rankings, he had a huge day there on Black Friday, 21.4 PPR points. Can he do it again here against Tennessee with no Jeffrey Simmons in that lineup?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Mostert and probably Bijan for this. I feel like Javonte Williams, he disappointed me last week. I was like, I thought that he was going to have a better game. I know it was sort of a tough matchup, but I don't know. Overall, I just feel like Javonte Williams hasn't had the season we all hope for. So to me, give me Mostert and Bijan for this question.
Okay. Eric, any difference from you? Because I'm right on with Troy there.
Oh, we'll sweep it again, right? One thing of note, there's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of Mostert's availability due to injury. So not 100% locked in, but if he's in there, especially with Simmons out, you can go back to that game last week with Miami, right? Like it wasn't until they were, comfortably ahead in the second half that they really started feeding Devon a Chan, right?
Yep.
So I think this is going to be a little bit more of a competitive game, not much more. But one that should feature plenty of Mostert if he's healthy and available.
Love it. Here we got Car Chisel. What's up, guys? Must win PPR, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. He has Tony Pollard, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Kyron Williams, Jay Jettis, Devontae Ayuk. If he wins this week, he can sneak into the playoffs as the 6th seed. I don't know how this is a 6-seeded team, just probably because of injuries, because it's a studly team this week, Troy. A lot to sort through there, but who do you think deserves to be left out of this lineup? How many did he give us here? He gave us
2 running backs,
5.
2 wide receivers, 1 flex. This is tough. I will say that Justin Jefferson, automatic.
Yep.
I'm going to go Justin Jefferson, Ayuk as my wide receivers. Kyron, I'm not going to bench. So Kyron's going to be one of my running backs. And I guess Gibbs, this is a tough one. I'm going to go Gibbs and Kyron, Justin Jefferson, Ayuk. In terms of a flex, give me Achane. That's how I'm going to go. You have a great lineup, so you're going to be good either way, but that's how I would do it personally.
I think you're right on there, man. We have seen Philadelphia be a little more susceptible to running backs, and I know Tony Pollard's projected a lot of points. I think he's going to fall short of that, though. I'm a little worried that it might not come to fruition there on Sunday night for him in that electric matchup down there in Dallas. So I think I'm with you. I still like Achane, I think, a little more than Gibbs, but they're both in my lineup, Troy. So I'm spot on with you. Eric, where do you go here?
Man, we're just in lockstep today. The decision for me would be between Pollard and Achane in the flex, right? I mean, Achane's upside is unreal, so
Mm-hmm.
I tend to err on that side. The only caveat to that being is like if you are a heavy favorite, if your opponent played some guys in that game last night that just completely laid an egg, and you're looking for a little bit more of a stable floor, you can make a case for Pollard over Achane. But for me, like win and get in, you trying to sneak into that last spot, you got to swing for the fences, right?
Yeah, it's all about upside, I feel like, here in week number 14. So love the question, Card Chisel. Good luck to you, man, because that's a fucking weapon if you can get those players into the
Nobody wants to
playoffs, man.
face him in the playoffs.
Yes.
Absolutely
Nobody.
not.
Yeah. Here we got all right. Eric, can you bring up the next question? I'm a little frozen up here on my screen. Apologies.
Oh, we a little chopped up. Where are we going next? Looks like we have Andrea with a question, looking to make a decision between Adam Thielen and Chris Godwin in PPR. Troy, which of those two is jumping off the page for you?
I think I'm gonna go Adam Thielen. I feel like Chris Godwin, I feel like for a while, he had a decent week last week. I feel like for a while he hasn't been as good as we were hoping. Adam Thielen's also kind of fallen off a bit, but I would say give me Adam Thielen personally out of these two.
Absolutely love it.
Adam Thielen, man, you're ballsy. I feel like to go back to Thielen though. I didn't see the other option. What was the other option there?
Oh, Chris
Eric?
Godwin.
Chris Godwin.
Oh man. Yeah, I probably am going Thielen. I don't like him this week either, though. I mean, Bryce Young's been like pathetic, and I feel like removing your coaching staff, your entire offensive coaching staff, like leave Josh McCown there. Give the guy a friend, and taking Josh McCown out, taking Deuce Staley out, some of these vets in the NFL, I think really hurts them. So I am a little worried, but what are you playing Chris Godwin for? Like, there's not a lot of upside there. He scored on the rushing touchdown last week. I do love Baker Mayfield against this Falcons team. But as you've kind of noted all season long, Eric, those are some pretty good cornerbacks out there for the Falcons.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? Like beating the Falcons secondary on the perimeter is a very tall task. So kind of a rough spot for Godwin. And it's the opposite with regard to Thielen, right? He gets to run over the middle against the Saints secondary, which is where you attack them, right? So, not the best choices overall, but of the two, I'll err on the side where you've got a bit of a plus matchup.
Okay, all right, and then here we got Poop Dollar. What's up, Poop Dollar? Good to see you, man.
My guy with that Dirk picture. I remember you.
Yeah, he loves it, man.
Classic.
We got Andrea saying need 3. Jamar Chase, Chris Olave, St. Brown, Devonta Smith. Eric, this one's damn tough too.
Sheesh.
I feel like with Chris Olave, like I don't know how you guys feel about famous Jameis. I'm a little bit worried we get maybe the crab leg stealer rather than the 30 for 30 guy here on Sunday. So I'd probably go Chris Olave as a sit. I don't know how you sit Chase after last week. St. Brown's been electric. And Devonta Smith, give me the highest over-under total on the week. I want a part of that game. Eric, are you any different there?
No, and I think that's the analysis. I am seemingly everywhere that I go, I'm the resident Chris Olave stan. But among these choices, he's the one to sit, right? Like I think that Jameis coming in actually probably helps him because they use him down the field, and Jameis just likes to chuck, right? But the likelihood of those actually being connected is a little bit lower with Winston under center. So tough choice, but I'm sending Olave to the bench.
What do you think, Mr. King?
It's a clean sweep. I feel like it's really hard to sit any of the other options. So by default, I'm going to sit Chris Olave.
All right. We are in lockstep today. So either people are getting great advice or they're going to get absolutely fucked on Sunday. And we're going to have a lot of hate messages coming in. So hopefully we'll help you out there. Andrea, thanks for the question. Poop Doll, a half-point PPR, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex, Devontae Adams, Devonta Smith, or DK Metcalf. What do you think, Troy? Where are you telling Poop Dollar to put his dollars this week?
I'm going to go DK and Devonta Smith. I think they just have a little bit more upside. Like Adams, look, Adams is great, but if I had to, it's a quarterback thing for me too. I just think that I trust Geno and Jalen Hurts a little bit more than Aiden O'Connell. So Devonta Smith and DK.
Yeah, and I know that Minnesota Vikings defense doesn't seem like the best. They give up a lot of yardage, but they don't give up a lot of points in general, especially to the skill positions as of late. So I'm trying to avoid that matchup, I think, if I can, with some of these Raider players. We don't know what Aiden O'Connell is going to give us on a week-to-week basis. And we saw the upside with DK last week. You got to keep rolling with him. Eric, any difference for you?
No, none at all. Part of the benefit of, or I guess the consideration with that Vikings defense, we've got Flores there just completely blitzing his head off, right? And typically against inexperienced and or younger quarterbacks, that tends to be far more effective. And then secondarily, they sat down to Caleb Evans, which was really the matchup to attack in that secondary. So now that he's not out there, like, Minnesota's actually kind of like a neutral to a bit of a downgrade matchup. So I get into that Eagles game with the high point total. So that's where the decision was for me between Devonta and Devontae.
Yep.
Also, Deron Bland, who's probably going to be his primary cover corner this week, he's kind of backslid a little bit over these last few weeks, as we saw DK just completely steal his lunch last week, right? So I'll go with DK and Smith of the lot.
All right. We got Poop Dalla also asking, can he trust Taysom Hill this week? He's got McBride on bye. Schultz is out. Or are you riding with Kate Auden? Well, we just had Rachel over on the website put out in her prize pick. She likes Kate Auden this week against Atlanta. They've been a pretty favorable matchup for tight ends. With that being said, Troy, Taysom Hill is out touching every other tight end by 31 touches this season. Does he get more looks here, maybe even in the passing game with no Derek Carr?
Yeah, I like Taysom this week. I just feel like he has a low floor, but man, his upside, we've seen it. It's ridiculous. He can have a receiving touchdown, rushing touchdown, and like you said, he gets so many more touches. Like, his touches are almost guaranteed. Like, he's almost guaranteed to touch the ball a few times a game. With Kate Otten, again, I think he's a decent option, but I also think because Derek Carr is not going to be there, I think they're going to use Taysom Hill, especially near the goal line, like how he's usually used. So I like Taysom this week.
Yeah, Taysom feels like a little bit. He is a little banged up. He has 2 separate injuries, but I feel like he's out there. He will be effective. Eric, can you sit Taysom Hill if he's active for Kate Auden, who just posted a donut once again last week? He's had high upside at times, Auden, but I mean, I can't get a donut in my tight end spot here in week number 14, do or die.
Yeah, for me, like, I've got Kate Otten a singular spot higher than Taysom Hill in my rankings. But like we get to this point of rankings, right? Like, we were talking about it earlier with Freiermuth. Like, there's such a negligible difference between one guy and the next after you get like 6 or 7 players deep. Like, why not just swing for the fences and go for the Taysom upside? Like, if you start Cade and he gets 6.5 and Taysom ends up getting 5.5, like, nobody cares, right? But if you start Taysom and he goes out there and gives you a 20 spot, like, you're cruising into the first week of the playoffs, right? So, granted, it's a bit riskier, but the floor of this, kind of tight end middle class market is so much lower that, like, the risk is kind of hedged in and of itself,
100% with you. Here's a great question from George Play. What's up, George? Thanks for joining us again here on your Feel Good Friday, man. Hey, guys, should I drop Zach Charbonnet or Rico Dowdle to pick up McKinnon? I have Pollard as my starter and Dowdle as the handcuff. Troy, we know no Isaiah Pacheco on Sunday. Do you prefer CEH or do you prefer McKinnon? Because I think CEH a little more available. But with that being said, we haven't seen anything on a Clyde in a couple of years now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I think Clyde slides into the Pacheco role. So I think that in terms of just touches, he gets it. But in terms of if it's a 1-point PPR, then I like McKinnon better because we've seen him get consistent target share. So I would say that. But for the most part, if I only had those 2 options, I'm going to go CEH. But I mean, I would probably drop Rico Dowdle. I feel like in the playoffs, like, I don't really need necessarily handcuffs. I just want to know, like, who's available to start. And McKinnon, if I can just start him, and I don't know how long Pacheco's going to be out for, but I'm dropping Dowdle for McKinnon.
I'm right there with you, Troy. I mean, it's nice to have your handcuff, but I think Dallas is a situation where we don't even know if Rico would be the true handcuff or if we would see some of the other running backs potentially get elevated there. We know they like Deuce Vaughn enough that they spend a third day 3 pick on him. Eric, any difference from you here? I think I'm also dropping Dowdle for McKinnon or CH.
I finally get to disagree. That's like usually my lane, so I'm back at home. I'm probably dropping Charbonnet here. The fact that you have Pollard, and I'm assuming that you are heading into the playoffs now, is really the tiebreaker here, right? Like the last thing you need is a running back that you are depending on to go down and not have access to that handcuff. And so I guess I'm assuming that you don't have Kenneth Walker here. Kenneth Walker also is now returning to practice and sort of on track to play, right? So in terms of like the higher value handcuff of the two, it's always going to be the one that you have the primary starter. But as a secondary note, this Seahawks playoff run against the run defenses that they're facing is brutal. They got San Francisco, Dallas, San Francisco again, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Pittsburgh. Like, if maybe you could sway me to just standing pat if you told me that you also had Kenneth Walker, but I mean, I don't think it's all that likely that Charbonnet gets picked up. And obviously, like you've got the insurance line with already having Pollard on your roster with Dowdle.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's arguments to be made on both sides of that coin there. So we appreciate the question, George. We're going to get some more questions in Sure Things Sleepers of the Week, but I want to get Troy out of here and get him to the rest of his Feel Good Friday. Troy, thank you so much for joining us, man. How can we best support you rest of the season and into 2024, our friend?
Of course, y'all can just find me at T King Mode, basically on all social media platforms, but Twitter's my home base. And check out my work at Rotorball as well as High Point Sports. Thank you guys so much for having me on. Hope you guys have a good rest of your Friday as well.
Hey, thank you, man. Stay warm down there in Florida, and we'll catch you soon, man.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Let's jump into Sure Things Sleepers of the Week, guys.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the Week.
All right, and joining us now is the content director of Dynasty Pros. He's also the growth and planning strategist over at Front Office Pros. You can find his work all over the industry, and a guy who got us retweeted by fucking Matt Rife this week. Shout out Dustin Ludke. What's up, Dustin? Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. Yeah, kind of a crazy week with Matt Rife retweeting us, retweeting my article. So it was kind of a fun roller coaster ride this week.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was great. We appreciate the help over on the site. If anyone ever wants to submit a column, you only gotta beat Dustin here with a Matt Rife retweet. But either way, we greatly appreciate
only 25,000 views on that tweet. That's all.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to beat here. I think that I've been writing for I created our site. I wrote for our site for a long time. I don't think I've ever gotten that many views on a tweet. So Dustin, thanks for one-upping me this week. How are the vibes heading into the weekend?
They're good, man. I'm excited for the weekend. I think I have a pretty chill weekend planned. I don't think we have anything. We're going to my wife's holiday party tonight for work.
Okay, nice.
I think I have just like my son's. He's got a piano recital on Sunday, so he's got some practice on Saturday. But other than that, I think it's pretty chill, so I'm looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, man! Hell yeah! What's the wife's Christmas party like? Is it fun? Is it bougie?
First year.
Oh, first year. Okay.
She's new to this department. She works at the University of Wisconsin for neurology. I hear it's pretty swanky, so it's downtown at like this big fancy the Madison Club here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Whoa.
So
you breaking out the tux?
I was told I have to get dressed up. I was told a button-down shirt or a nice sweater. So I was told I have to wear nice shoes.
Please roll in there with a tuxedo shirt. Please.
She to the point where she was like, "Do you have nice shoes?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got some nice shoes in the closet that I never wear, but that's what we're doing." So,
is that a Gabe Davis jersey behind you? Who is that?
That's an Andre Reed and an Antonio Gates.
Okay. Take that Andre Reed jersey. You right off the wall. You wear that right in, Dustin. Don't let it say anything to you. Yeah.
Own the place.
I'm just kidding. I don't want Dustin to get beat by his wife, thanks to me. All right, Dustin, before we jump into some Short Things Sleepers of the Week, do you have some time to answer some questions from the chat?
Of course. I was already getting some answers prepared.
Awesome. Looks like we got Car Chisel saying thank you. Hey, we appreciate you, Car Chisel, and Poop Dollar. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today, making time for us on your Feel Good Friday. And we got Joey right in the chat saying, oh, hi.
Oh, hi.
There you go. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't. There's a pause in it. There's a little bit of a swing in the pitch, I think, late in this. One more time, Eric. Give it to us.
Oh man, now I have to do it on demand. Oh hi, man.
That was
like 60% efficacy at best.
Not bad.
Can't believe I'm getting put in the spotlight like this.
Joey Wright's catchphrase. He's got Lawrence out. He's got to go Geno or Browning. How do you feel about it, Dustin? Do we get a little bit of Jake Browning magic once again here in week number 14?
No, I think you got to go with what we have a longer history of, and that's Geno Smith. Browning's been really good, and shout out to Hoove, who said like he knows the offense a couple weeks ago when I was on.
Yeah, you did.
We've seen it before with quarterbacks. They come and they have these two kind of magical weeks, and then they just kind of fall off, right? Brock Purdy's the only one who's been able to maintain that. I just don't think Browning can keep it going. I'm worried that he can't. He's got great receivers. He's got a good running back, but I'm just worried that he's just not going to keep it going. So I think I'm going to have to go. I'm a safe player, so I'm going to go Geno Smith.
How do you feel about it, Eric? Because I think Dustin's right on that he is the safer play, Geno Smith. He did just see San Francisco a couple weeks ago, was god-awful in that one, but does he turn it around after seeing this defense once before? He is a little banged up as well.
Yeah, so they are currently 15 and 16 in my rankings this week. I've got Geno ahead by that one spot because I do think he's the safer option, right? Like, fair point that he kind of pissed down his leg the last time he faced San Francisco. But
yeah,
I mean, you go back to last Thursday night against Dallas, a very strong defense in their own regard, and he had a phenomenal night, right? So like, I don't think that we can exclusively look at past as prologue in this case, but also I think that we're going to see Browning come back to earth a little bit here, right? Like in that Jags game, kudos to the Bengals coaching staff. They were running concepts and plays that we hadn't seen out of them the entire year, right? Like they dialed up a game plan specific to him, and now all of that is sitting on tape for the Colts to go and review, right? So like, unless they really have like a bunch of counter punches in their locker, I don't think it's all that likely that we see him put up another Joe Burrow light type of performance this week. So I'll go with Geno.
And honestly, a lot of Jake Browning's fantasy points last week came from rushing. He rushed in for a touchdown and 11 yards rushing. So that his passing numbers, 354 yards, 1 touchdown. That's not great. The week before, 227 and a touchdown. So I think it's going to be more that week 12 against Pittsburgh type of thing where he's a 12-point guy. I think Geno can easily go off for 20 points, 30 points if he has a magical game. Now, he probably doesn't against San Fran because he never had. I'll take the history with Geno over Browning.
And let's also not forget, gentlemen, Jake Browning made a lot of those points off of short screens. Like I think he only had something like 5 or 6 attempts down the field, 15 yards or deeper. So I just don't expect the points to kind of come in big globs like they could potentially for Geno Smith if he hits DK on a long shot, or Tyler Lockett. Lockett hasn't done shit lately, so I don't know if that will happen. But yeah, I think I'm with you guys. I think Geno's just a little bit safer here. But good luck, Joey. We wish you the best of luck, man. Here's a question from Card Chisel. Might be a stupid question, but is there a world where you would consider playing Ferguson over Hawkinson this week? I mean, let's look at this, guys. Like, it is the higher point total game that you're getting involved with. The Eagles have not been great against tight ends. I mean, that linebacking core is just kind of falling apart a little bit, Eric. With that being said, are you really sitting TJ Hawkinson, who's been an absolute monster against a Raiders defense that it's the Raiders defense, you know? Max Crosby's a stud, but outside of that, there's not much.
Yeah, I am not. I'm going Hawkinson here. Look, I don't think it's a bad question or a bad thing to pose, right? Like, Ferguson's still inside the top 8 at the position. So like very solid options overall. But in terms of like what is most likely to happen, the highest percentage of the time, it's going to be Hawkinson outscoring Ferguson by a pretty good margin. And yes, the Eagles defense against the tight end hasn't been stellar, but the Raiders are allowing an 82% catch rate to the position this year. So, I mean, like we know how much Josh Dobbs loves peppering tight ends with targets. Very high chance, like better than 82% that he hauls in a good chunk of those. So, like going with Hawk there, but it's a tough spot to be in.
How do you feel about it, Dustin? I know I'm actually ripping up Ferguson in a flex, so maybe that's something Card Chisel can do if he wants to start Ferguson.
Yeah, I think you have to start Hawkinson, right? The matchups are pretty equal between Eagles defense and the Raiders defense. We know Doubs is going to pepper the tight end. Plus, they're also coming out of a bye. So I like that because it gives them an extra week to game plan specifically for the Raiders. So they should be slightly better. Sounds like Justin Jefferson's going to play. So I think even if he's not 100%, he's definitely pulling extra coverage that way. Like he's pulling a safety over to his side. So that opens up a little more of the field for Hawkinson, who I think is going to be Dobbs' favorite target. So I think you have to roll Dobbs. I don't mind Ferguson in a flex play if you're looking at a high scoring matchup. I just don't know if that Dallas Philly game is going to be as high scoring as we think it is.
Okay, calling a little fake shootout bluff. I like it. I like it, man. And we got Joey in the chat saying, "Wow, look, Troy avoiding me yet again." He got out of here just in time, so we didn't have to see Joey's face. And hashtag Team Dustin.
Hashtag Team Joey always.
There we go.
Ooh.
There we go.
Barely
7
passed.
out of 10.
Better than
7 out of 10 for the oh hi. There for you, Eric. We got George Play back in the chat, guys. He's wondering he needs 2 wide receivers and a flex non-PPR here, Dustin. Waddle, Olave, Cup, JSN, and Old Key and Mitchell. Scott Rainier's potential league winner.
Yeah, it's definitely Waddle's definitely the first start. I think that's probably a given amongst all of us. I'm going to roll with Cup and then flex JSN.
Okay. Wow. Okay. I was not expecting that. Where would you go here, Eric?
I'm gonna have a bit of a different take here. Waddle is definitely the lock. I like going with Cup. I think he's actually in kind of a nifty bounce back spot. And then I'm actually gonna go to the other side of the game. I'm gonna flex in Keaton. Usually I err on the side of running backs whenever I'm making a close flex decision, but also everything we've seen in the preceding games, all of the reporting that we're hearing out of Baltimore is that they're really wanting to ramp up his workload. He's one of these players, kind of like a Devon Achane light, to where, even with limited touches, he can do so much with the ball in his hands that I couldn't bring myself to leave that upside on the bench.
I am usually the guy who is anti-Chris Olave here, but I can't believe there's not more love for Olave. I get the matchup isn't great against Carolina. Like, somehow makes no sense how the worst team in football has one of the best passing defenses. Makes zero sense. Is that kind of why you're shying away from Olave here, Dustin?
Yeah, it's that. And like the quarterback is just
famous
risky.
Jameis.
It's just risky at best. Like
King
he's
Crab.
a hucky. His style leans towards Olave. I think it actually leans more towards A.T. Perry than Olave, just because they have the connection from being kind of on that second string team in practice for so long. I just don't love anything connected with Jameis Winston, to be honest with you. It could just go real bad real fast.
Wow. Okay. All right. Fair enough there. I would go Olave. But I am with you guys on Waddle and Cup as your surefire starts at wide receiver. Good luck at flex, George. Apologize that we couldn't really come to a singular answer for you. C-Dog asking which Chiefs RB we would start. We kind of touched on this earlier in the show, C-Dog, but Dustin, you weren't on with us at that point. Do you lean CEH? Troy kind of thought he might slide more into that role that we see Pacheco have. But Jarrett McKinnon, we've seen in spots, especially late in the season, he's got some touchdown equity here in some big games.
Yeah, I think I agree that CH does slide into Pacheco rushing role. My issue is I think I lean McKinnon because of the game script. I think if we're looking at a high-scoring, fast-paced game, it's going to be a lot more McKinnon in the pass-catching role, less straight-up running the ball. They can still run it with McKinnon. They don't do it that often, but I like the upside, especially if you're in a PPR league, to go with McKinnon over CH. We've seen CH plenty that he's just mediocre at best. Like, even with 20 carries, what's he going to get you? He's going to average 2.5 yards a carry, and you're going to be okay. Like, you're going to get 40 yards. I'm okay with having McKinnon and play for the upside.
And when you look at these defenses right now, Eric, they're bleeding points to the wide receiver in general. So do you expect any fantasy relevance to come from CEH or Jarrett McKinnon? Like, what's your confidence on putting one of those guys into your lineup? And is it McKinnon over CEH for you as well?
Yeah, higher degree of confidence with McKinnon for me as well.
Okay.
It's weird because this usually isn't the case when you talk about like a pass catching running back as opposed to the between the tackles guy. I actually think his floor is a bit safer. Like with CEH, you're really looking for that touchdown, and he's going to have to get in close in order for that to happen. So a lot of things have to line up for you to get the payoff with CEH, whereas McKinnon is going to be involved not only as a ball carrier, but as a pass catcher. And in addition to hemorrhaging points to wide receivers, the Buffalo defense is also allowing people to catch balls out of the backfield at a pretty high clip, which is certainly McKinnon's specialty.
And they could elevate Deneric Prince. They did that last week. Took him off the practice squad, put him on the active roster for Sunday. So he could be on the roster this week, and he could siphon some of CEH's work. And then also CEH gets nothing.
Deneric Prince. That was a nice little sneaky name. I was adding some of my dynasty teams in the offseason. It's a name I haven't heard in a long, long time, though, for sure. Andrea saying thanks again. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you, Andrea. We appreciate you making time for us. And Joey saying, good thing is I secured a first-round bye, so if he takes a loss, no big deal.
Hey.
So no pressure on us. But maybe pressure here from C-Dog in one of our final questions of the day before we get some short things, sleepers of the week. Should he start Patrick Mahomes or Brock Purdy? Are you riding the Purdy wave? Purdy for MVP, Eric Romoff. Can you do it against Seattle where he kind of stunk a couple weeks ago? Or do you go Pat Mahomes against Buffalo, a historic rival?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've never been on the Purdy MVP train, so I'm not going to change gears now. It's still Pat Mahomes for me. He's the higher ranked player. He is the higher skilled player. Also, like the way in which Kansas City is competing in and winning this game is exclusively on his arm. Whereas there are so many ways that San Francisco can win the Seattle game handily that don't heavily feature Brock Purdy. So, I mean, shout out to Purdy for playing to a point where this is a conversation, but it's still Mahomes by a pretty good margin.
Any difference for you here, Dustin? As we mentioned, Buffalo has been a great matchup for quarterbacks and wide receivers as of late.
If you could not remind me, that'd be great. You go with Mahomes. Like I've traditionally said, Mahomes is not as for fantasy is not as amazing as we think he might be. Like he has games where he is the same as Brock Purdy, but 2 weeks ago, Brock Purdy played Seattle and it was his second worst game of the season. I don't think that changes much. I agree with Eric. Like they can win by running the ball. They can win with a defensive score. Like they don't need Brock Purdy to necessarily like go out and throw 4 touchdowns like you get into the Eagles. Whereas Mahomes might have to throw 4 touchdowns to beat the Bills. Like I think this was a big game for the Chiefs. I think they kind of overlooked Green Bay last week and preparing for Buffalo because they know it's a big rivalry, kind of a litmus test for them in the AFC, even though the Bills haven't been great this year. Like it's still a name. You still get that on your resume. Like you beat the Bills. So I'm going with Mahomes hands down.
I am with you guys. Make it a clean sweep for a guy, C-Dog. Thanks for tuning in today, man. Hope you're subscribed to the channel. Come back and hang out with us again. And let's get into some short things sleepers of the week, gentlemen. And I do have to apologize. Sometimes when I miss with my short thing as sleeper of the week, like I miss by a point. We're looking for double-digit points if it's a skill player. Maybe I miss, he scores 9, 8 points. Last week, mine got 0. Fucking 0. Like that was the worst call of my season. It was Royce Freeman. I should have known. So I apologize, folks. I really do apologize about that one. But we're ready to get it right here. We're going to get back into the batter's box and we're going to keep swinging here. So Eric, I will put you on the spot first. You weren't on the show last week. Xfinity fucked us over. So we had to do that pre-recorded. But with that said, you're up, man. Who you got? Make sure it's awesome.
Yeah. So I am not going to be quite as bold as Seth, right? Like you take big swings, and sometimes when you miss, it looks a little silly. But I'm going to go with a player that is actually already averaging north of 10 points per game, but I do think is in a blow up spot, and that is Romeo Doubs. Obviously, a little bit more targets heading his way with regard to Christian Watson being unavailable, and his matchup this week is gorgeous. Adoree Jackson is one of the more frequent shadowers in terms of coverage in the NFL, and they do that despite the fact that he's kind of cheeks. He allows like a 72% catch rate. His yards per reception is just bananas, right? Like he's well into the high teens. He's allowing touchdowns. He's one of the yak leaders. Like everything that you're looking for in a soft matchup, Adoree Jackson is bringing to the table. In the event that he doesn't shadow full time, Deonte Banks is a plenty favorable matchup in its own regard. So I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Romeo Doubs this week. Should sail right past that double-digit mark.
I'm glad that Adoree Jackson probably never wants to sponsor this show because he never will after how much we've buried him on this program this year. Shout out Adoree. Keep it up, buddy. But yeah, I'm with you. I like Romeo Doubs a lot this week. I had to drop him from a team a couple weeks ago, and now I'm like, I wish I had him for this exact matchup. So yeah, pie on my face. Dustin, over to you for your sure thing sleeper of the week. Your second one, I think, here at IBT.
That's my first one. Last time I did the other segment.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
But I like Eric because I was actually looking at Dontavian Wicks for the Packers, but I pivoted and went with Jerry Jeudy of the Denver Broncos. He's wide receiver 43 on most rankings on ESPN, so I think you get a good value there. Listen, Asante Samuels is a good cornerback for the Chargers, but he's probably going to be on Cortland Sutton, and a safety is probably going to have to lean over that side. So in two wide sets, Jerry Jeudy is going to get Dean Leonard, who ranks like 60, basically 60 on PFS coverage rating, not that great, probably in the like low 80s in terms of like the list. In three wide sets, Jeudy goes into the slot, and that's where he gets Essen Bassi, who ranks as the 70th best corner. So like good matchups across the board. Week 18 last year against the Chargers, he had 6 targets, 5 receptions, 154 yards. Jerry Jeudy has gone over double-digit points in 5 of his 11 games, but in 2 of the games he didn't. If he catches one more pass at like his average yards per target, he goes over 10 points. So he's got a good history of going over double-digit points. I really like this for them this week. I think he's the guy that can get there. It's been Cortland Sutton scoring touchdowns, but I think Judy's going to have a good week this week.
If there's ever a time that Jerry Jeudy can show up, like it probably is here. You would have to think, and like it kind of feels a little stinky. It kind of feels a little wrong to put him in your lineup with how he's performed this season. But I think you're spot on here. I mean, the Chargers secondary is one that's favorable. You can attack it. I don't know how much longer Brandon Staley has a job either. So I'm
cool with it.
Much longer. Yeah, I'm cool with it. Eric, you riding with a little Jerry Jeudy love as well?
Yeah, absolutely love the call. Right, like this. If you need more evidence than the Chargers putting up 6 points against the Patriots last week, like clearly this team is mailing it in. They're not happy with their situation. They're not getting up for their coach. So, they were already a favorable matchup to wide receivers as it was. And if they're not putting in 100% effort or at least taking a couple of plays off, I mean, Judy's still the type of athletic skill set player that can take full advantage of that.
Love it. I'll round us out with my sure thing sleeper of the week. Give me some Gabe Davis. Put me in a game, second highest total on the week. That's 49 there. We got safety Brian Cook banged up for the Chiefs. L'Jarius Sneed probably going to see more Stephon Diggs. Might not be a true shadow here, but I think that kind of leaves Davis in a favorable spot. Kansas City, actually a top 6 matchup over the last 2 weeks for wide receivers and top 10 over the past month. The Bills defense also struggling, so I'm expecting a shootout. I know, Dustin, you said you're not maybe expecting a true shootout here, or maybe that was a Sunday night game.
That was Philly Dallas. I'm not expecting true. This one I think has potential to be a shootout, to be a statement game that both teams are trying to make.
Okay. And since the change in play caller, like, it hasn't been all great for Gabe Davis, he did have that one donut, but he actually got the game ball in that week for having a lot of good blocks there. So I like the vibes. After that, we saw 12 targets, good for 22.5 fantasy points last week. So I'm going to ride Buffalo coming off the bye. I think vibes are a little bit higher. And if you need anything more here, averaging 16 plus PPR points last 2 times he's played the Chiefs. We know what he did in the playoffs a couple of years ago against this squad. So I like Gabe Davis. We know he can get you 0, like he could get you 0, but I'm willing to take the risk this week. Are you fellas?
Yeah, let me take one of these hats down, put my Bills fandom on. The Bills are going to play hard this week. Like, we saw all this stuff come out about Sean McDermott, and everyone thinks it's new stuff. That's from 2019. Now, granted, what Sean McDermott said and did was just mind-boggling bad, but it's from 2019. Like, the team has passed that for years. Like, now they're going, why are you bringing this up? And Sean McDermott has come out and said, like, hey, this is like, I'm upset, I'm angry. The team's going to rally behind him, and they're going to show up, and they know that this is a statement game. They have to win out to pretty much make the playoffs, and you beat the Chiefs. Like, that's how you start going. Like, this is a game where I think Buffalo could come out and just start punching real fast, and it could be Gabe Davis. the Chiefs have a good secondary, but Trent McDuffie's going to be on Stephon Diggs. I kind of like the matchup for Gabe Davis. You got Shakir, you got Kincaid, you probably get Dawson Knox back, so it's going to open up some room. I think Gabe Davis could have a big week.
Eric, you riding the Gabe Davis experience with us?
Yeah, I love it for a couple of reasons, right? Snead doesn't shadow a ton, but Gabe Davis should see the least of Snead, so that that works in his favor. But I appreciate you, Seth. Like, shoot or shoot. Gabe Davis is going to go out there and he's going to get you a 25 or he's going to get you a donut. You're not afraid about that last one clanking off the rim, right? Like, you got an open look, you're gonna pull the trigger. And I mean, Gabe Davis is in a phenomenal spot from a game environment. We obviously saw him go completely nuclear in that playoff game a few years ago. So the upside is real. I love the call.
I'm like, I'm Shooter McGavin, man. Shooter, shoot. I'm out here. I'm just going to keep swinging, man. I'll do whatever it takes to win.
That's what you got to do.
There you go. There you go. Dustin, thank you so much for joining us, man. Tell us where we can find all your great content, not just for this season, but beyond. Your big thing in the entertainment world now, apparently. So
I guess
we want to get on now. We got to get on now.
My first non-football piece blows up. It was a piece on the Matt Rife special. Check it out on IBT.com. But you can find me on Twitter at the DUnit13. So THEDUNIT 13. That's the best place to find me. You can check out QB List every Thursday. We get our sit starts out there. I help write those and put that together. A lot of my stuff comes out on Dynasty Pros. I'll be on, Front Office Pros a couple times this summer, and then some stuff over at Dynasty Nerds, and who knows where else this summer. Things, are happening left and right. So I'll be at the Combine doing coverage there. I'll probably be at the draft doing coverage there like I was last year. So if you're looking for some information, and my DMs are always open on Twitter. So if you got sit start questions, Dynasty questions, trade questions, feel free to message me. I'm always happy to help.
He's everywhere, folks.
He's
everywhere. Get on with it now. Eric, anything else that I missed? Like, how can we best support you, bro? I know you're Green Screens Media. I know you're Mr. Mom this week. And Pros with Joe's heading into the playoffs. I'll just say, I didn't fucking make the playoffs. I mean, just come on, man. Throw your co-host a bone here, bro.
Dude, my guy, I expanded the playoffs just for you, and we still couldn't make the cut line. Like, what's going on here?
I had a winning record for the first time ever.
So is Seth a pro or a Joe at this point?
Apparently, I need to. Yeah, apparently,
open for debate. We'll write this off as you putting so much effort into barely squeaking up above the cut line in our guillotine league every single week, dude. My guy has just been dancing with the devil.
5 of the last 6 weeks, baby. And I'm winning that son of a bitch now, bro. I'm coming for you. Just be ready.
Team of destiny. I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared. Yeah, like you mentioned,
been dominating that shit, man. Holy hell.
Dude, I've been dancing with the devil myself. I've been refusing to roster a kicker because I want the upside of another skill position player, right? So maybe this is the week where it jumps up and bites me. But yeah, like you mentioned, Green Screens Media is where we're doing all of our college basketball stuff. We're actually going to be breaking down a huge slate later tonight at 8:30 Central, so 9:30 Eastern tonight. We're on the march to 700 subscribers, so definitely check us out over there. And in like 2 hours' time, going to be live on the Football Diehards YouTube channel. Me and my guy Jamie are back to break down this week's DFS slate. So 5 o'clock Eastern, check out the Football Diehards channel if you want to get into those DFS weeds.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate it, Eric. We appreciate you, Dustin. For Eric, for Dustin, my name is Seth, and we'll be back here on Tuesday evening, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. Enjoy week number 14. Cash those fucking tickets to the playoffs, folks, and we'll see you next time. Until then, you know what to do. Keep in between.